So tell us about the alternative education programme.
Okay, so we deliver a programme for children that don't quite fit into mainstream school. They come here, obviously they get the therapeutic side out of the animals, also get to learn how to ride. So not just riding, they spend time with their animals, they'll go onto the yard, they'll do jobs, they'll groom the horses, they spend a lot of time getting them prepared for the lessons, mucking out their beds. We also work out of workbooks for their education side, so they can get a little bit of maths and English out of the lessons as well. That also goes for the dog programme and the small animals. So most of the children that come here can choose which activity they want to do, and sometimes swap half. When they've done a term, they can go on to the next subject if they want to carry on doing horses to continue, or they can change to dogs or small animals.
And what kind of change do you notice in the children as they are getting to know the animals and working alongside them?
Well, sometimes we don't see the children in a school setting, but reading the reports that come from school, obviously it's a nice change to see when their teachers come to visit them and say how different they are and what they're getting out of it. They obviously just prefer to be not in a classroom setting, which, you know, can set off certain anxieties. People with autism just clearly deal with being here in the outdoors. Bonding through the animals is just special for them. They can communicate with animals better than any human, I suppose. And I also think that it's just the way it's ran, it's just so, the setting here is so much more relaxed. There's no pressure on these kids, you know, if they're not in an educational setting then they can get something out of it. And that animals do that for them, it's just so much better for them.
So what kind of activities do the children do with the horses?
Okay, so when they arrive in the morning, they will go to the fields, get the horses in. Then they will make sure that the horses are fed, watered, got clean beds. They groom them, make sure they're nice and clean. They'll learn all about different points of the horses, different colours, get them ready for the lessons. Once they've had the lesson, they're learning, obviously if they're a beginner, they're learning how to walk, learning how to stop and start the horse, and then it progresses on to each lesson goes further. Horse riding isn't a simple activity, it does take a while to grasp, you know, some of the lessons, like the techniques in there was, you can't just go straight into full-on riding. So there is you know, it's quite a good process for them to go through as a beginner up to a certain level. And if they're here for a long time, we've seen kids go from beginners and then months and months later they're cantering around the arenas and having a great time.
And how accessible would you say horse riding is to a child who has a special need or a disability?
Depending on their special need or disability. So any special needs kids are welcome here. You know, we can cater for all of them. We have all different kinds of horses that you know, are really good. I mean, some of the horses are so good with these kids, they know how to bond with them. They're very clever animals.
And what would you say to any parents who are a little bit unsure about whether riding might be right for their child?
I think it's trial and error. So we cater for, sometimes if a child's coming here and they're coming for a lesson and it's not on the alternative provision, we do what's called an introductory session. Can't say that word. Basically that will be stable management, so they can be around the horse, and then once they've done the stable management and got used to the surroundings of the horse, then they can do a lesson for half an hour as well. I usually find that's a good icebreaker. If they're going to like horse riding, then they'll go forward to book more lessons, and if they don't, then it's not for them.
So Amy, tell us about your daughter Mia.
So Mia is 12 and a half. She initially started coming here in November 2019 because they offered a course in the afternoon to do a bit of dog agility and a little bit of horse riding, and then unfortunately COVID hit and that all came to an end, which was quite traumatic for her because horses are like her therapy. We then picked up in June 2020 and she started doing private lessons, and it was absolutely fantastic to actually go from being stuck in the house and her being, you know, suffering a lot with her mental health, to coming back into horse riding. And she had a private lesson. The instructor that she had was fantastic, understood her needs, understood how to speak and interact with her, gave her the right horse for her ability, which was really nice. And it got me thinking about school, that school wasn't necessarily working for her, with her being in a mainstream school. So I looked at my different options and learned about alternative provisions, and then realised that they had one here. So I asked if they would be happy to have Mia on board, and obviously they were. She was, at that time, she was a frequent rider. She took the helpers course, so was a frequent helper. And from September, she's been here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in the alternative provision, and she absolutely loves it. I love it too.
And what difference have you seen in Mia since she started here?
I can honestly say her mental health has improved tenfold. Without horses, I feel it's in two parts. Without the aspect of horses in her life, she really struggles. I feel like they're a very therapeutic animal to be around, whether you're riding or caring for them. But the other side is the actual place. I feel like it's a really calm environment. I feel like the people that are here, as a parent carer and as Mia being a student, we both feel comfortable if ever there's any problems, which there hasn't really been. We feel comfortable to address them. We feel comfortable to say, you know, Mia might be feeling a bit down today, can you just keep an eye on her? And they do. And I feel that is extremely important for someone like me, who in mainstream school she didn't get that attention that she needed. She gets it here 100%.
What would you say to any parents who were thinking of trying horse riding for their child, but were a little bit unsure or nervous?
I would completely understand why you would be nervous, especially if you aren't a horse person, because they are quite big animals, but they are gentle giants. I would think you can come here, you don't have to get on a horse, you can come here and see how you feel around a horse. You can see if it is, I don't know, horse riding you want to get into, or if it's maybe just the care side. And I would say 100% give it a go, because if you don't try, you never know. And I definitely would rather try and fail than not try at all, because the benefits from it are amazing. I mean, we've ended up loaning a horse now, because they have a loan scheme here where the majority of the loans, you ride them. Some of them are just care loans because the horse is maybe going into retirement. And I ended up loaning one because we love it so much. So from going from an hour on a Sunday to being here 5 days a week. Yay.